Right now, while you're standing there looking at your hydrangea and thinking the show is basically over for the year, that plant is doing something you cannot see. Inside those thick, tired-looking stems, next summer's flower buds are already being built. Not next spring, not in March when you finally get around to pruning. Now, late July into August is the exact window when most hydrangeas quietly decide how many flowers you're going to get 12 months from now. Which means everything you do to that plant in the next 2 weeks either loads it up with buds or wipes them out before they exist. So today, I'm walking you around one hydrangea, from the tips of the stems down to the roots, and giving you 7 jobs to finish before July ends. These aren't the same 5 tips recycled on every gardening site. These are the ones that decide whether your plant limps into August and calls it a season, or keeps pushing flowers into September and comes back next year absolutely loaded. Get a pair of clean secateurs, a bucket, and about 40 minutes. Let's go. Task 1. Find out what you're actually growing. Everything else in this video branches off this one answer, so do not skip it. Hydrangeas fall into 2 camps. The ones that build next year's flowers on this year's stems, and the ones that build them fresh next spring. Cut the first group at the wrong time and you throw away an entire season of blooms. Cut the second group and it barely notices. Here's how to tell without a plant label. Walk up to yours and look at the flower head shape and the stems together. If the blooms are big, rounded mop heads or flat lace caps, and the stems are thick, slightly rough and grayish-brown near the base, you're almost certainly growing a big leaf hydrangea. That's the old wood group. The stems standing there right now are next summer's flower stems, and they're setting buds as we speak. If the blooms are long cones or pointed pyramids that started white and are turning pink or lime, and the stems are woody and hold themselves upright, that's a panicle hydrangea. If the blooms are white or greenish balls on floppy thin stems that fall over after rain, that's a smooth hydrangea. Those last 2 build flowers on brand new spring growth, and they are far more forgiving. Say the answer out loud before you touch a single stem, old wood or new wood. That one sentence changes how you handle the next 6 tasks. Quick one. If you actually want a step-by-step guide for all this, maybe your plant's struggling or you just can't get it to bloom, I put every fix into one cheat sheet. You get everything in my Plant Fix and Bloom cheat sheet. It's the first link in the description. Let's continue. Task 2. Deadhead to the fat buds, not to the stick. Most people cut the spent flower off wherever it looks tidy. That's where the damage happens. Follow a faded flower head down its stem and you'll see pairs of leaves stepping down toward the ground. In the joint where each pair of leaves meets the stem, there's a small bump. Near the top, just under the old flower, those bumps are thin and flat. Keep going down 2 or 3 pairs and you'll find bumps that are noticeably fatter and rounder. Those swollen ones are the flower buds forming for next year. On a big leaf hydrangea, your cut goes just above the first fat pair and nowhere lower. Snip the dead head off with about 1 centimeter of stem left above those buds and stop. Resist every urge to shape the plant, shorten it, or even it up. Any stem you shorten below that point is a stem that will produce leaves next summer and nothing else. And once you get into August, put the secateurs away entirely on old wood types. The window closes fast. Panicle and smooth hydrangeas are a different story. Removing spent cones from these keeps the plant tidy and on reblooming varieties genuinely pushes fresh flowers in late August and September. Cut back to a strong pair of leaves, take the whole faded cone away, and the plant redirects energy that was going into seed production and puts it into new growth instead. That's the entire mechanism behind Nonstop Blooms. A hydrangea that's allowed to set seed thinks its job is done. A hydrangea that keeps getting its seed heads removed keeps trying again. Task 3. Stop trusting the afternoon wilt. This is the mistake that quietly kills more hydrangeas in July than anything else, and it's the opposite of what you'd expect. Your hydrangea flops dramatically at 2 in the afternoon, you panic, you water it. Then it flops again the next day, so you water again. Within 3 weeks, the roots are sitting in permanently damp soil, they start rotting, and now the plant genuinely can't take up water even though the ground is soaking. Hydrangeas have huge, thin leaves that lose water faster than the roots can pull it up on a hot afternoon. That midday droop is a cooling mechanism, not a distress signal. So, change when you check.
Go out first thing in the morning, before the sun has any real strength. If the leaves are firm and lifted, the plant is fine, no matter how sorry it looked yesterday afternoon. If it's still drooping at 7 in the morning, that's real thirst and you need to act. And when you do water, don't sprinkle. Push your finger into the soil about 8 centimeters deep near the outer edge of the leaf canopy. Dry at that depth means it needs a proper soak, and a proper soak means letting a hose trickle slowly at the base for a solid 10 to 15 minutes so the water reaches the deep roots instead of teasing the surface ones upward. 2 long drinks a week beats 7 short ones every single time, because shallow watering trains roots to stay near the surface where they cook. Water the ring of soil under the outer leaves, not the crown. That's where the feeding roots actually are.
Now, task 4. Reset the mulch before the heat peaks. Go look at whatever mulch you put down in spring. I'll wait. On most plants, it's now a thin, crusted, compacted mat about a centimeter thick, and in some spots the soil is bare. Mulch breaks down fast in warm, damp conditions, which means the layer that was protecting your roots in April is basically gone by late July, right as the soil is under the most stress. Bare soil around a hydrangea in high summer runs several degrees hotter than mulched soil and dries out roughly twice as fast. That temperature swing is what causes the afternoon collapse you were panicking about 30 seconds ago. So do this. Take a hand fork and gently scratch the old crusted layer to break it up, because compacted mulch actually sheds water rather than letting it through. Then add fresh material until you've got a good 5 to 7 centimeters of depth. Composted bark, leaf mold, or well-rotted compost all work beautifully. Straw works if that's what you've got. The one rule that matters: pull it back so you leave a clear ring of about 10 centimeters of bare soil right around the stems. Mulch piled against the crown holds moisture against the woody base and invites rot straight into the heart of the plant. A donut, never a volcano. And water the soil first, then mulch on top of damp ground. Mulching over bone-dry soil just locks the dryness in. Task 5. Put the nitrogen away. If you've got a bag of general-purpose high-nitrogen plant food and you're planning one more feed to push it along, this is the video where you stop. Nitrogen tells a plant to make leaves and soft green growth. Feed a hydrangea nitrogen in late July and you get exactly that, a flush of tender new shoots that arrive too late to harden off, get flattened by the first cold snap, and die back over winter. Worse, that soft growth is produced at the direct expense of the flower buds the plant should be building right now. It's the single most common reason someone has a huge, gorgeous, leafy hydrangea that barely flowers. Late July is a stopping point, not a feeding point. For plants in the ground, the last meaningful feed of the year should already be behind you. If yours has genuinely never been fed and the leaves are pale and yellowish between the veins, a single low nitrogen feed with decent potassium is acceptable now, and then nothing until spring. Potassium supports flower and bud development and helps the wood ripen properly before winter, which is exactly what you want at this point in the season. Containers are the one exception. Pots leach nutrients out the bottom every time you water, so a hydrangea in a pot can take a half-strength liquid tomato feed every couple of weeks through to mid-August. Tomato feed is high in potassium and low in nitrogen, which is precisely the profile you want. And here's a bonus for anyone chasing blue flowers. The color of next summer's blooms is influenced by soil chemistry now, not next spring. If you want blue on a big leaf hydrangea, applying aluminum sulfate to acidic soil from late summer onward gives the plant months to take it up. Waiting until the buds open next June is far too late. Task 6. Deal with the competition underground. Here's the problem nobody looks for, because it's invisible. Your hydrangea might be perfectly watered and perfectly fed and still be starving because something else is drinking first. Grass growing right up to the stems is a serious competitor, and its dense fibrous roots sit in the exact same shallow zone as the hydrangea's feeding roots. A mature tree or a big shrub within a few meters is even ruthless.
If your hydrangea is planted near an established tree and has been sulking all year despite good care, root competition is very likely the reason. Clear a genuine circle of bare ground out to the edge of the leaf canopy, pulling grass and weeds by hand rather than hoeing deeply, because hydrangea roots are shallow and easy to slice. Then mulch that cleared circle as we covered a moment ago. For container hydrangeas, do the pot test. Tip the plant on its side and slide it out, or if it won't budge, check the drainage holes. If you see a dense, white mat of circling roots and water runs straight through the pot in seconds, that plant is pot-bound and cannot hold enough moisture to survive August, no matter how often you water. Don't do a full repot in this heat. Instead, tease the outer roots loose with your fingers, drop it into a pot one size up with fresh compost around the sides, water deeply, and move it into afternoon shade for a week to recover. Task 7. Take your cuttings this week. This is the free part, and the window is closing. Right now, your hydrangea has stems that are neither soft and floppy nor fully hard and woody. That in-between stage roots faster and more reliably than anything you'll find in spring, and by late August, it's gone. Find a non-flowering shoot, because a stem that's putting energy into a bloom won't put it into roots. Cut a piece about 10 to 15 centimeters long, trimming just below a pair of leaves. Strip off all the lower leaves so you've got a clean length of bare stem, then take the top pair of leaves and cut them in half across the middle. That looks brutal, but big leaves lose water through evaporation, and your cutting has no roots to replace it. Having them is what keeps the cutting alive. Push 3 or 4 of them around the edge of a small pot of gritty, free-draining compost, water once, and cover with a clear plastic bag propped up on sticks so it isn't touching the leaves. Keep it in bright shade, never direct sun, and check for roots in about 4 weeks by giving a gentle tug. Do 6 cuttings and expect 4 to take. That's 4 new hydrangeas from a plant you already own, in a season when everyone thinks the gardening year is winding down. So there it is. Identify your type, head back to the fat buds, check for wilt in the morning instead of the afternoon, reset that mulch, put the nitrogen away, clear the competition underground, and get your cuttings in this week. Do those 7 things before the month is out, and your hydrangea goes into August strong instead of exhausted. If you're going to do just one of them today, make it the head deading, because that's the one with a hard deadline attached. Now I want to know which one you'd forgotten about. Drop it in the comments, because I read every single one and it tells me what to make next. If this saved your hydrangea, hit subscribe and ring the bell, because next week we're going into the one pruning mistake that costs people an entire season of flowers, and I promise you it's more common than you think. Revive it, then make it bloom. See you in the next one.